Okay, so I'm the vice principal here at St. Mary's All Grade in Mary's Harbor, Labrador, which is a small rural community of about 250 on the south coast of Labrador. And in our school for the past 3 or 4 years, we've really been placing an emphasis on bringing traditional skills-based training to our students. We've been working very closely with Nunatuivut, which is an Indigenous organization, which a lot of our students and some of our staff are actually part of the membership of that organization. And I guess Nunatuivut really has been making many efforts and strides to try to bring a forefront to bringing traditional skills to our youth. A lot of our old traditions are still alive and well, but some of the traditions of the past, in some regards, I guess, we don't want to see them go to the wayside. So, having always lived here in Southern Labrador, I feel that a lot of our teachers have been, doing their best to try to keep these traditions alive in some part. But through Nunatuivut's efforts, we've been able to bring community resource people more so into our schools to help us with making sure that some of these skills and traditions are taught to our youth. Here in St. Mary's, at St. Mary's All Grade, we've done some excellent initiatives with some traditional crafts, cooking. We've been doing some work with woodworking, mostly with the traditional skills, I guess, in culture and fine art. We've done some work with life skills as well, with traditional cooking and things like that. The land-based learning is something that we haven't yet experimented with, but we hope to do more of that in the future. We've done a little work with history, storytelling, and things like that. Like I was saying, Nunatuivut has been instrumental in encouraging us to do work with traditional skills in our schools. What has been really, really overwhelming for me as an educator is the amazing amount of interest that our students have in these traditional skills programs, and the amount of, support that we have had from the community, from our people, our community leaders, the practitioners and people that work with us in the school. They've been very, very supportive and encouraging, and it's been a great process. So we continue, like I said, we feel that we've only just started at the tip of the iceberg, but we'd like to see these programs continue. And like I said, we're nearing the end of the school year now, cluing things up, but we're anxious to get started for ideas that we have for next year. Indigenous education, I guess, is any education initiative that would entail passing on skills to our youth that has to do with their culture or their heritage, skills, best practices, things that are involved with their Indigenous affiliation. And I think that here at our school, what has made us an example of excellence, or they say excellence in Indigenous education, is the fact that we've wholeheartedly participated in the program, supporting it, feeling that it's very worthwhile and of value to pass on these skills to our students, and finding ways to creative ways sometimes, even though we don't have a curriculum per se in traditional skills-based learning, we have found creative ways to incorporate it into our already existing curriculum and to find ways to make it work, because we feel that it will be very worthwhile for our students to participate in these types of programs. I think that we've made some really important strides in the last few years with getting some traditional skills and other Indigenous programming into our schools. But I think that what we need to focus on is continuing to build on the partnerships that have already been formed for more collaborative efforts between all the different stakeholders, the Indigenous groups, the educational institutions, for everyone to come together to recognize that Indigenous education is a very, very important part of not just small rural schools, but schools in all communities, because there are the world is such a small place. Our province is such a small piece of the pie. Our country really is such a small piece of the pie when it comes to the world, and that there are Indigenous affiliations amongst all of us. So just to get to the roots of what it is that our skills that our people have, and how we can bring those skills to our people in the schools. I know only a little through my own personal interest and my role as an educator in the school about what has been done with Indigenous education in other communities across Labrador and across other parts of our country. For me, it's exciting to hear about the website, the National Centre for Collaboration for Indigenous Education, and what's been done already this year with the setup of the website. I'd like to have some time and maybe even some professional development time that I can go in and do some research as to what other initiatives we can bring to our students, initiatives that have been tried, and they're certainly of value in other parts of the country. We can certainly learn from other people's examples. So in order to do this, for some of the resources that I would see that we would need would be, like you said, time, maybe some professional development time and energies devoted to that, as well materials through organizations such as Indigenous Education Center, made available to educators, maybe, links for webinars, things like that. People sharing is always good for collaboration. So I think those initiatives will be very worthwhile.